bringing the people behind our food to life.
So a terrific mash that goes beyond the standard potato is to mix rutabagas and russet potatoes together, and you get this wonderful earthy flavor that really shines through with the rutabagas. A little bit of that slight sharpness from the rutabagas, but also the honey flavor that rutabagas naturally have. So equal weights of rutabagas and russet potatoes, and I have a pan that I've half filled with cold water. I started one of the potatoes, I peeled it and chunked it up. And what I want to do is cut the rutabagas smaller than the potatoes because these take longer to cook, and I want them to cook it in the same amount of time. So let's peel this one. And once the potatoes are in water, they won't brown. So I usually just do these first and get them in the water. All right, just take this one's pretty good. Okay. So I'm going to cut this into 2-inch chunks roughly. So right into the cold water. I haven't added any salt in yet. And now we'll go after this rutabaga. Going to trim off the bottom and top. And with my knife, usually I just go after it with the peeler, but I'm going to just go along the bottom with my knife before I use the peeler to get off. There's still some little tendrils from the root. Okay, and now I'll peel away. So you can wash these really well, scrub them, and use the skins along with some carrots and onion to make a roasted root vegetable stock. So think about saving some of the trimmings. I wouldn't use the potato because you're just going to pick up a starchy flavor and make the stock cloudy. But rutabagas, carrots, all are terrific for making a vegetarian stock. And so this I'll lop in half and just chunk this into more like 1-inch pieces. One of my favorite things to do with leftovers of this mash is to heat it up, poach an egg, and put the poached egg on top with some hot sauce for breakfast. Okay, so now I have this ready to go on the stove. Let me get this lit. Start this over high heat. I'm going to add in a generous round of salt. So I'm going to partially cover the pan, and I'll adjust the heat down once this comes to a boil and let this cook along until the potatoes and rutabagas are fork tender, and that's about 15 minutes. Okay, I need to check these potatoes. They've cooked for about 15 minutes. Let's see if the rutabagas are tender. Oh yeah, they're perfect. You don't want them falling apart, but you want them really, really fork tender. We'll walk these over to the sink and drain them off. Shake out all the water, shake, shake, and dump these back into the pot. Once the potatoes are drained, I want to put them back on the heat and just stir them a little to evaporate any extra moisture at the bottom of the pan. And once that's done, I take my old-fashioned potato masher and mash. Rutabagas are a little bit sturdier, so while potatoes just fall apart right away, the rutabagas just take a little bit more muscle to break down, even though they're fork tender. So take the time to do that. Oftentimes when you're making mashed potatoes, you mix together butter and milk to then add into the mashed potatoes. But if you add the butter first and the milk second, the butter absorbs more readily into the cells, the broken down cells of the potato, and you get a buttery or tasting potato, and that's true in this instance too. The butter's been softened. You could melt it if you wanted to. There's enough heat going on here. I just put in chunks of it and let it work around until it melts. So, okay, I'll set that aside. So this is 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. And I will add in a 1/2 cup of sour cream. Okay, so we'll get all the sour cream. Let that blend in. I'm going to season it with salt and pepper. Now I salted the water, so I'll be light on the salt until I taste these. I happen to have white pepper in a blonde wood pepper mill, and I like to use white pepper because then I don't have black flecks in my mash, but gosh, it's just perfectly fine to use freshly ground black pepper too. And then we'll add in some dill. I probably chopped more than I need, so let's do a first in. So this is a looser mash. It's not, I don't want this dried out. I want it chunky and light. And let me give this a little taste. Perfect. And scoop some of this in here. Okay, there we go. Look at that. A combination of rutabagas and russet potatoes.
The challenges of growing in the winter. You know, you're watching the news and the weatherman says, and here comes an Arctic front. You're saying, how Arctic is it? Because between that and a windstorm, those are the 2 things you don't want to hear when you're growing in the winter.